This is a video from a session that I had with a client. Please be advised that my responses were specific for my client's situation, so it may not apply to you. Enjoy! I'm feeling a lot of chaos in my new company. Is this normal? Typically with like a smaller companies, they have a bit more, not chaos, but just it's not structured. And some people, really enjoy that unstructured part of that job where, they can kind of be taken in all sorts of directions. Versus like if you're in a larger organization, you have a lot more like very specific sort of responsibilities and things that you need to do, and there's a set way of doing everything, and your manager, manages you in one particular way to get the job done. So it is like a different environment, and maybe this is just like an opportunity for you to figure out what sort of organization you do want to work in, whether it's a bigger one or a smaller one. It feels like my colleagues are making things more difficult than they need to be. Yeah, I mean, they possibly could, either on purpose or unintentionally doing it. Not on purpose to make things difficult, but doing it on purpose to make things easier for them. No one's intentionally trying to make your job harder, it's just they'll do things for whatever will make things easier for them. I feel frustrated that the work I'm doing isn't intellectually stimulating. You can try and get an idea from the senior, sort of what his or her experiences was, and if they've worked at other companies, ask them if it was similar. Depending on how you want to phrase it, you could probably ask your manager as well. He's already said like he was doing that when he was in your role before. And he does agree, you're getting paid way too much to do what they're getting you to do. I do remember though, when I was early on in my career and then sort of making my way up, and I've spoken to like other people that's sort of in the similar peer group, we also had conversations before where we're like, we're getting way too much to be doing this stuff. Sometimes there isn't anybody that's lower to do some of that thing, and then sometimes there is, but then people just don't trust them to do it, depending on what the work is. So I can definitely understand the frustration. I'm starting to question whether I've made the right career choices. The other thing that I think you might want to think about is what you do want out of your job. Because there are definitely people that, they're not super enthusiastic about what they do, but they do it because it pays a certain amount that allows them to live their life. And they're like good enough at doing it that it's not completely boring, but at the same time, they might not be intellectually stimulated as much as they want it to be. I know you're sort of early in your career, and everyone sort of sees their career to be like, they're going to find something that they really enjoy, and then they're going to work hard and it's going to pay a lot, and you're going to have this like, 25, 30 year career where it just progresses upwards. But I think the reality is most people actually don't have that. And then it's just about finding out what you value most out of, I guess, not just your career, but what you value out of life and where you want to spend, most of your stress. Because some people, like, their job isn't stressful, and it's actually their personal life that's stressful, and they go into their job and they love their job because they get to hang out with like the team members, and they're like really close, and they've got like great friendships. Some people, it's the complete opposite, where they have the job, they get paid a shitload of money, but they don't enjoy the people that are working with them. But they do it because of the money. Well, that's part of like going through your career as well, like trying different roles, and whether you're actually in another job that you're doing the role, or you talk to people who are in those roles and then figuring out from secondhand experience. Like, it's a part of the whole career journey. So I guess don't be too disheartened. But yeah, definitely a learning experience, I think, is the best way to look at it. I've been approached by a recruiter. Should I consider the role? Because I think there's no harm in looking at opportunities that are sort of there. So like that recruiter that came through and asked you about it, I mean, you could very easily tell them like, you're open to the opportunity, but you need to find out more about the role in the company, and you're happy to go through recruitment, but you're not necessarily set on moving. With recruiters as well, they understand that especially if they reach out to someone that the role needs
Like
to be
cold
right.
calling it.
Yeah. They call you because they see you've had the experience and you're probably a good candidate. But whether or not this next opportunity is the right one for you, that's something that they're willing to like sort of just gamble, and hopefully you do want to move. So if you're interested in the role and it's like something that you just want to at least go through the recruitment process, I'd say probably at least do that, or at least like find out more about the role itself. If it is so close to your last role, I'd imagine what you'd want out of that, the new one, is to at least pay more, I'm guessing. And maybe a title higher or like a position higher, that's something that you'd want to have as well. So I'm not sure if you've gotten that information, but if you do go back, maybe that's something that you'd want to mention to them. Because if it's the same level and like, you know, possibly even less pay, then you'd just waste your time, really. I've started a new role, but it's not what I thought it would be. If I was in the situation and like I wasn't happy in the role that I was in, I would probably start looking for roles. I might not be super into trying to find new one because I'm already in a job, but I'd definitely be looking. You can save your search on like LinkedIn or like Seek, I think, and then it'll like email you roles that are kind of the criteria that you search for. So something like that where you're not actively looking, but if you can just like check your emails of anything new that looks like, you know, you might be interested in. But I guess, yeah, good learning experience, because otherwise you would have just kept thinking about whether or not you'd want to pursue an investments role. If you still have an inkling of like wanting to do investments, I'd suggest you to continue to like look at investment roles, because they can be quite different from like company to company. Yeah, hopefully you can try and find, or like a bigger team at least, because that would make a difference if there's like a bit of a support with different like analysts or associates. I guess you're already talking to that recruiter that's like reached out to you. Even when you're speaking to them, just also let them know like you're open to roles that are similar to what you've done before, as well as roles that you're currently in. Just because recruiters kind of get like all sorts of things that come through their desk, and they might have something that is in investments that you might be interested in. What's your opinion on moving from back office to front office roles? The way that I think about it is it's easier to go back into a role like you had before than to get out. Yeah, and you've sort of already in more of a front office investment side role at the moment. You're just right at the start of it. So you could almost like try to leverage that a little bit. I guess when you're in interviews or if you're talking to recruiters, it's like that's what you want to do, but it just wasn't the right fit in your current place. But that's where you want to go like longer term. Going back into more of a treasury analyst role, you might kind of be seen as someone that not too sure what they want to do, which is fair enough given you're so early on. But if someone looks at your resume or talks to you, you have a better case to go from where you are now to another investment role. I think it's always easier to go back, just from my experience and from what I've seen with other people in their careers. Like the story that you can tell them is a lot easier to just say, you know, the investment side wasn't as what I thought it would be. There's a lot of, you know, responsibility and a lot of stress in that. And the treasury side isn't as stressful. So like people understand that, and they'll kind of like, they won't really see you moving from that side going back as a bad thing. Should I always secure my next role before resigning? Yeah, that's what I recommend. Or like if things get so bad that you just need to leave. I only say that because I did have a mentee that was in a job that he really didn't like, and he was like working long hours, and then it was impacting his personal life. He had roles that were offered to him, but they weren't exactly what he wanted. And I basically had to tell him, like, you know, for the sake of your own well-being, yeah, like you just need to get out of there. But I don't think you're in that situation. What can I do if I feel like I'm being underutilized? Try to take more control. I do know, and I have seen situations where like someone junior would come into a role and they'd like pick up a lot of slack because they just see things like done a completely like stupid way or inefficient, and everyone else kind of just like, we'll just do this because it's been like this and this is how we've always done it. The individual then sort of takes it upon themselves to like change all of that, and it might be a lot of effort, but like at the end of the day, they're more compelled to do it because they enjoy taking a bit more responsibility and like leadership to drive it in a certain way. Even though it's not like required of them at all, it's sort of just how they want to contribute in that way. I guess the only way that kind of also works is if you have buy-in from like someone a bit higher up.
Should I continue to build a relationship with my manager if I'm looking to leave?
Well, I think like that's definitely a good thing to do while you're still there. One, it will just kind of build your relationship with him. So in the future, you know, if something happens and he can help you out in some sort of way. But I guess too as well, like if you do decide to stay, then he is somebody that can definitely help you in the company. But yeah, I think like the worst thing you can do, and that I've seen some people do, quiet quitting. They do nothing for the whole day, and like you kind of know that they're looking for other jobs elsewhere, but they can't find a job for, I don't know, like 6 months, so they're just going to work, doing the job and going home. I definitely don't think that's a good sort of mentality or approach to have, just because if you are there, you might as well like learn and like build relationships as much as you can, because that always helps in your career.
How do I know whether I will enjoy continuing along this path?
Talking to the senior, talking to the manager, and just trying to understand what they do, even if you're not doing the job, but understanding what they're doing in their roles. That will hopefully give you enough information to figure out like, in the future I do want to get to that level because it sounds way more interesting, but right now in this job, in this role, it's not what you want to do.
You've really helped me get clarity on the actions I need to take.
The main thing for me, I think, if you're asking me these sort of questions, is just to help you out, come to your own decisions. Because I think like the worst thing that I can do is like tell you to do something and then you kind of actually don't agree with it at all.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.